Oh, I didn't have my fan on. Turn my fan on. So, it looks like Pokemon and LEGO are finally collaborating. I guess Pokemon wasn't very satisfied with their, for lack of a better term, scary Mega Bloks creations. But now you're in the safe and capable hands of LEGO, and you made this. And this. I'm sorry. Imagine you're like, I don't know, like a 10-year-old kid. You're like, oh my gosh, finally, LEGO and Pokemon are collaborating. They're going to make sets that I can play with, and they can go right next to my Animal Crossing sets, and my Sonic sets, and my Mario sets. And then you're like, oh great, let me just quickly fork out $600.
I summon pot of greed!
This is not a playset. This is just a waste of money. And yes, I will be honest, I did actually write the script for this video back when this was announced, before we knew what the actual collaborations would look like. But I think now, more than ever, we need something like this video, which is my pitch for the LEGO and Pokemon collab. I love LEGO and Pokemon, and so does many other people. They do amazing things. I think the most popular thing they do is create incredible collectible merchandise that super avid fans will happily buy in bulk and then hold on to for a decent amount of years and then resell for a massively overblown increase in price. That's out of love. I would say, and I hope I'm not alone in saying this, that my favorite aspects of both IPs are not the collectible overinflated merchandise. It is the things that have cemented these franchises in my brain from an early age and have now led to this crazy spending addiction that I have. And that is the games. The LEGO games are freaking awesome, and the Pokemon games are also freaking awesome. And now you've got both companies collaborating, so why not make a giga awesome game that melds the best parts of both intellectual properties? Now yes, we've seen LEGO games do collaborations before, and we've seen Nintendo do collaborations before. We've got Mario X Rapids, Mario X Sonic, Mario X Donkey Kong. Okay, it's pretty much all just Mario, but I feel like the merging of LEGO and Pokemon specifically is just a match made in heaven. Both IP's games rely heavily on things like problem solving and puzzles, episodic story progression, huge cast of characters that you can choose between, evolving mechanics and gameplay styles, which I will expand upon later, and a cute sense of humor. I feel like that's increasing in speed. I'm gonna turn it off actually. Can you even hear it? Okay, enough out of the FNAF fan. Now the strengths of these games have what made them so iconic, but there are also the weak elements that fans have been asking for solutions to for honestly decades. In Pokemon's case, the more free-roam open-world aspects of the modern games like Arceus, Scarvi, and ZA, but adapted to more old-generation games, talking Gen 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for LEGO, a return to formula, forward-moving chapters, that witty humor, the incessant grunting, rather than the sort of overly drawn-out, overcomplicated, overstimulating open-world game mode that the Skywalker Saga had, which is very cool, but come on, give me something classic. Arguably the most important part of this pitch is the execution. What will the mechanics of this hypothetical game be? I'm glad you asked that, because actually I wrote a bunch of sections about it, so I'm just gonna talk about it now. As the most popular LEGO games are adaptations of other IPs, usually film franchises or shows, they've got this really clever way of collating all these classic moments into a game structure that makes a lot of sense for young minds, which is a main hub. Let's look at Indiana Jones, for example. You're Indiana Jones. You work as a professor, and so you love to go to the museum. So what's the hub in that game? It's a museum where each exhibit has its own chapters, which are then the movies in the Indiana Jones franchise. It's freaking genius. Let's actually just rip that out and just plop it into this game, okay? There are museums in every Pokemon game, and there's a lot of history. So imagine you're at like a global museum where you want to learn about each region's legendaries and the amazing trainers who became champions that caught these legendaries. Boom. Right there. That's your hub. Or if you want something a bit less ripped off, maybe let's say you're a trainer who's who's working under a new professor. What's a tree that they haven't done? Professor Paperbark. So you go into each of these research rooms, and then boom, you can live out each of the stories associated with the legendaries. There you go. Give me my money. Next, which is probably the most important aspect of these games, as they highlighted so much in both Pokemon and LEGO games, are the puzzles. A lot of my favorite memories associated with the LEGO games were with the Star Wars The Complete Saga. Just 11 out of 10. You get to play through the main story through a select assortment of Jedi and side and droid characters that can allow you not to solve every puzzle, but at least just the main story ones, so you can finish the game. And then once you finish the game, you go back later with the cool frickin' Sith and Bounty Hunter and just random, honestly not even part of the Star Wars universe characters that'll allow you to solve all the things that you couldn't solve previously in the chapters. This literally is also the Pokemon structure as well. You play through the game with the easy Pokemon handed to you along your way, you freaking beat everyone, and then you're like, damn, how do I get over that waterfall? How do I go over this rocky crevice? How do I swim into this water hole? And to do that, you gotta keep catching. You gotta keep collecting all these characters, just like the LEGO games. So, let's meld the two in this game. Let's say, since you always start with fire, water, and grass types, and end up catching normal, flying, electric, and bug types in your first routes, let's let those basic types be the ones who can perform story progressing puzzles. Then, as you collect specialty types through either evolving your team, which I'll get into later, or catching Pokemon throughout these missions, you can be strategic about who you put in your party of 6, just like Pokemon, so that you can come back to these missions and use this Pokemon to 100% all of these levels. By using Pokemon types to solve puzzles, it captures the core aims of both games, solving puzzles for LEGO games and catching Pokemon for Pokemon games, to help the player progress in the game. And these types won't only apply to puzzles, but also another very important aspect of both of these games, which is probably the most differing aspect, the combat. In LEGO games, it's very simple, sort of shoot, stab, Expelliarmus, push, throw, I don't know, just whatever you need to do to unalive any enemies you come across. Whereas in Pokemon games, it is very, very detailed system of the way all these types work together and with different mechanics and strategies, which is so thorough, in fact, that there is literally an entire massive subsect of the Pokemon fandom dedicated to competitive Pokemon. It is a very, very well thought out combat system. So if Pokemon games specialize in tactical turn-based combat and LEGO games specialize in very simplified real-time combat, how do we merge the two? Well, each game franchise has already done that for us. More modern Pokemon games, like Arceus and ZA and Pokemon Go, yes, I didn't forget about you, already use real-time combat mechanics, which follows more along the style of games like FNAF World and Digimon, where you can still choose from an array of moves, but have to think fast and use them in real time. And the LEGO games also have turn-based segments. If you look at select episodes, the boss battles are kind of turn-based, which is a pretty good reference point, other than the fact that they suck. The only problem area is that in the LEGO games, when they do turn-based combat in like boss battles and stuff, it's kind of shit. And in Pokemon games, when they do real-time combat, sure, it's cool, but it's not as cool as the turn-based combat. So let's use the stronger aspects of each franchise to cover these problem areas and find a blend of both. So let's adapt the most iconic moves and effects from each Pokemon type to this game and how they harm enemies in different ways. Let's say in the walkabout segments of your levels in this game, that'll be sort of your real-time combat, just very basic, kind of like Pikmin. Get your team and just make them destroy whatever enemies and NPCs and obstructions are in your way. And then once you get to the more special battles in this, like your gym battles, your boss battles, and your legendary battles, then we can adapt Pokemon's turn-based style mechanic. Next, probably asking yourself, Kai, you sound fine and dandy, but what about the Pokemon evolutions? If each story's been broken up into little episodes, how am I supposed to evolve my team? Especially if I'm just switching up my team of 6 per episode. And to that I say, please calm down and stop yelling at me. I'm sensitive. And I have a solution. Actually, both games already offered us a solution, which works so well, it's like it was meant to be, which is EXP candy. You know how in the LEGO games, you destroy things, you destroy enemies, you collect all these studs, you just gobble them up, and then you finish the level, you go to the hub area, and you just buy someone. You're in my team, I'm gonna use you to unlock this area. You can just rip that out to Pokemon. Yeah, sure, they already have a currency, but you're not running around in regular Pokemon games just fucking buying Pokemon. Nah, you're catching them and you're evolving them. So the very simple solution is the studs, the little studs that you collect in this game, they're not going to be money studs, no. They're going to be EXP candies. So then when you finish the level after destroying everyone and everything with your Pokemon, you go into your hub area, you pick whatever Pokemon you want, Charmeleon. The game is like, okay, I'm gonna take the level gap between Charmeleon and Charizard, which is 20, and I'm gonna multiply that by like 1,000. So that'll be 20,000 rare candies, please. You'd be like, boom, no problem. Then that way, it sort of respects the progression systems of both games, where in the LEGO games, you progress through collecting all these studs so that you can improve your selection of characters, and adapts that to Pokemon where you gotta catch them all, and to catch them all, you gotta level up your team. Perfect. So just to summarize, a TLDR, too long didn't read. You're a little guy who either is visiting a museum or you work in a laboratory, whichever one. You guys tell me which one you like better. You want to learn about all the previous legendary creatures and champions of the awesome regions of the Pokemon world. Earth. Is it Earth? Poke-Earth. And so let's say you want to learn about the Kanto region. So you'd go into the Kanto room or exhibit, and you're like, I want to learn about these Pokemon. So then you walk in, and then boom, you're red. You've got the starter choice of Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charmander, Pikachu, except you start with all of them. Yeah, pretty epic, right? And you just make your way through the region, except you can now, through reimagining the Gen 1 story through the Pokemon games, you can actually experience the region more. You can go inside the buildings in an open world way. You can walk around and see Pokemon running around in the overworld. Yes, I know Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu did this already, but did they do it on LEGO? No. So shut up. Then you're fighting gym leaders, then you're fighting Team Rocket, then you're fighting Blue. It's freaking awesome, man. And then as you're fighting through guys, you go back to your hub, you use your little EXP candies to level up your little dudes. Perfect, you got a game. If you took that right there and you shipped it off to Nintendo and LEGO, they'd be set. But since it's my pitch and I'm writing the video and I'm a fan can dream. So let's add more onto this. Let's say, right, LEGO company adapts the Pokemon franchise in 2 games, where they adapt like generations 1 through 10, which 10's not out at the moment, unless I take longer to put this video out, which I hope not. Let's just say up to 10. Let's say game 1 covers the first 5 generations in 8 chapters. But you may be thinking, how the frick are you going to split 5 games into 8 chapters? It's not very even. Don't worry about it. Stop interrupting me. Let's just say you want to learn about the Kanto region. So you jump in the Kanto area, you learn all about it. That's chapter 1. Through 4 episodes, you just kind of sort that out. Then you want to learn about the Johto region. So you go to the Johto area, you learn all about that. That's chapter 2. Chapter 3, you want to learn about the Hoenn region. You jump in, you learn all about it. Chapter 4, no, you're not going to learn about the Sinnoh region. You're going to learn about something more important, the Aura region. Yeah, this game's going to cover everything. And I'm talking Pokemon Colosseum, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, everything. For the fans of those games, it's been kind of a sad time because Nintendo's kind of just been neglecting them. But if we're using this game as a tribute to really shoot into the nostalgia of all of the LEGO and Pokemon fans that want to re-experience the old style of LEGO games and the older generation Pokemon games through a new lens, let's go all in nostalgia, because not many people know that Gen 3 had 3 games. If you actually wanted to complete the Pokédex in that generation, you had to also play Pokemon Colosseum and you had to play Pokemon XD. Those games can be reimagined now, a bit more of a straightforward, more conventional Pokemon route. Now, when we get to chapter 5, we can do Sinnoh. And then, when we do chapter 6, no, we're not doing that yet. We do Hisui. Yes, we're covering everything. Don't worry about it. Chapter 7, boom, Unova. Chapter 8, West Unova. The best region. Sorry guys. It's all thought out. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that's my pitch, basically. I think Pokemon and LEGO would really, really be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't capitalize on this epic freaking idea. We haven't had a LEGO game in forever, and all the recent Pokemon games we've been getting, I still appreciate them. But this would show that you really care. Like, look at all of us. We all grew up on these franchises. We all think about what they used to be. This game would be a tribute to that, and would show that these companies know how to listen to their audience. So that's my pitch. This is my first video, so if you guys liked anything in it, or even want to add on to anything in it, or just actually flat out hated anything in it, please let me know. This is all the ideas from just one fan, but I want to hear what other people have to say after I put this idea out into the world. So just leave a comment, and if you want more videos like this, or you hate this type of video, but you want to see me do better, just subscribe to the channel. It would be awesome and epic. Two good things. And to Mr. Nintendo and Captain Lego, if you guys are watching this, you have my contact information, and I am available to talk further about this idea anytime because I have no job. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining the Kai Giovanni Experience.